Belief in the real presence is waning among Catholics, and the U.S. bishops are trying to do something about it. It's being called the National Eucharistic Revival. It's a 3-year initiative launching on Corpus Christi Sunday to reinforce that core dogma of the Catholic faith. Father Carlos Velasquez is one of the main organizers for the revival in the Diocese of Brooklyn. He joins us now. Hi, Father. Nice to see you.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Thanks to being here in person. It's so nice to do these interviews now.
Thanks so much.
So I want to start with, I know you've heard about the Pew Research Center study. It came out in 2019, and it's part of the reason this revival is getting underway, because the study showed about 2/3 of U.S. Catholics do not believe the bread and wine at Mass become Christ's body and blood. So, I mean, isn't that the basis of our faith? What did you think when you heard that study?
Very much so. I mean, it's an alarming number to think that somewhere around 70% of both Catholics that are in our pews, but maybe even people who are not in church anymore, who even don't believe at all, that don't realize that as Catholics we profess that we don't believe in just the bread and wine, but that it's a symbol of Jesus, but that the bread and wine truly become the body and the blood, the soul and the divinity of Jesus. Essentially, substantially, it's Jesus Christ. And so as a pastor, as a priest, that's certainly very alarming to think that there'd be people in our pews that don't really understand that or don't really live it out completely. Right. And that's kind of what's alarming the bishops, and what has united the bishops throughout the country in calling for this National Eucharistic Revival.
Sure. So aside from that study, why is a Eucharistic revival like this needed? Why is it so necessary right now? I mean, we live in a world that's hurting.
Yeah, we hurt tremendously right now. And the Eucharistic revival is really an invitation to us to answer some of those questions and some of those pains, those sorrows that we're going through. We have people who maybe don't believe. We have people who maybe take the Eucharist for granted. We live in a culture that doesn't really accept God. We live in a culture and even in a country where sometimes God takes the back seat. And the Eucharistic revival is a reminder and an invitation to us to truly understand what the Eucharist is about, and to realize that God gives us his very self in the Eucharist, his very presence. Not something like him, not an example or a symbol of him, but his very self, in order that we may consume him and that we may become more like him, so that we can transform the world. And that's what this whole time is going to be about. The Eucharistic revival, there's going to be opportunities of encounters on the parish level, on the diocesan level, on the national level, opportunities for us to have encounters with the Lord in Eucharistic adoration, Eucharistic holy hours, more masses, Eucharistic processions like we'll see this Sunday at Corpus Christi, happening all throughout the diocese and all throughout the world, really. But also times for study, times to gather for workshops, for taking the time to see what is our Eucharistic theology, what is it that we believe, and why is the Eucharist so important to us. The Second Vatican Council tells us that it's the source and summit of the Christian life. It's the center of everything. It's the reason why we are Catholics.
So I understand, I mean, if people go to church all the time, maybe they're wavering in their faith, but they're there. How do you get those who kind of stopped coming to church? How do you bring them back to explain the whole reason for this?
And that's what the revival is all about. Yeah. So the whole revival is about us learning more about what the Eucharist is, to re-evangelize ourselves and to get us more on fire. You know, this is not a program.
Go out and get them back.
Exactly. It's not a program. It's not another initiative. The whole idea behind this is setting a fire and lighting a fire and allowing for us to become renewed in our devotion and our belief in the Eucharist, that then we can go out and opportunities to bring some of those folks back, to tell them and to show them what this is all about and why it's so important.
So after hearing about the incident at St. Francis Xavier Church in Brooklyn, where the tabernacle was stolen, the consecrated communion was dumped all over the floor, it seems some reinforcement about the sacredness of the Eucharist is really needed now more than ever.
Certainly. You think about those images that we saw of all the debris all over the altar, and you know, the real sadness and the gravity of what happened was not so much that the tabernacle is missing and that it's gone, as precious as it might be, as beautiful, as ancient as it might be. the tragedy that happened there was that our Lord was desecrated and that he was kind of left behind. So that just shows you how much we need this revival for us to really truly understand, like, those beautiful tabernacles that are around the world aren't beautiful just so that they can be beautiful. They're beautiful because of what they hold, whom they hold inside. Jesus Christ, the second person of the Blessed Trinity, the same Jesus who died on the cross, the same Jesus who was born in Bethlehem, the Son of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the second person of the Blessed Trinity. That's who's present, and that's who we have the privilege of receiving every time that we present ourselves for Holy Communion. And that is incredible. It is something that is not of this world, and that's something that we have to shout and proclaim for the rooftops. So this Eucharistic revival is an opportunity for us to do just that.
Get people to listen. So tell me, what is your role specifically in this 3-year campaign?
Sure. I'm part of the diocesan committee that that the bishop has put together in order to try to steer and guide this whole this Eucharistic revival on the diocesan level and on the parish level. So myself, Father Giubino, who's the director of catechesis for the diocese, he's the chair of the committee, and there are several priests and deacons that are on that committee. And then there are subcommittees. I'm on the liturgy subcommittee, and the whole idea is that all these subcommittees will then bring in also other deacons, other priests, and laymen and women to help us to come up with different ideas and to provide resources for pastors, for parishes, for academies and schools throughout the diocese to have these kind of encounters, to have more holy hours, to have more Eucharistic processions, to have more moments of adoration, to have workshops and talks and conferences about what the Eucharist is all about. The next 3 years, everything is going to be Eucharist, Eucharist, Eucharist. That's the point.
Sounds like a lot of work, but it's so important. Father Carlos Velasquez, the pastor of St. Bridget, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much. Thanks to you.
Hi, I'm Christine Persichetti, anchor of Currents News. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button on this video. And if you want to see more content just like it, subscribe and click on the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, because we are putting your faith in the news.